My name is Anya Sharma, and for most of my life, I believed that love was an endless, unconditional wellspring, particularly when it came to family. I grew up in the serene, rolling hills of Willow Creek, a place where ancient oak trees whispered secrets to the breeze, and the community felt like one extended family. My husband, Rohan, and I built a modest life there, raising our two daughters, Kiran and Priya. Rohan was a quiet, steady presence, a man of few words but immense dedication. He taught me the value of quiet strength and the power of a steadfast heart. Willow Creek was more than just a town. It was the crucible of my values, a place where integrity and compassion were the bedrock of existence. Kiran, my eldest, was a vibrant, ambitious spirit. From a young age, she dreamed of a life beyond Willow Creek's gentle embrace, drawn to the bustling energy of the city, Zenith. She was a whirlwind of ideas, a relentless pursuit of perfection, and a deep-seated desire to prove her worth to the world. Priya, on the other hand, was my gentle artist, content to capture Willow Creek's beauty on canvas, her spirit as calm and clear as the stream that ran through our property. When Kiran announced her engagement to Vikram Mehta, my heart swelled with a complex mix of joy and apprehension. Vikram was everything Kiran aspired to be: charismatic, successful, and undeniably charming. He ran a burgeoning tech enterprise, Apex Innovations, in Zenith, and his life was a dazzling array of grand gestures and opulent experiences. He was a force, a whirlwind, and I found myself both drawn to his energy and subtly unsettled by it. There was a certain glint in his eye, a polished veneer that, at times, felt impenetrable. Their wedding was a lavish affair, a stark contrast to the simple, heartfelt ceremony Rohan and I had shared. Kiran, radiant in her custom-designed gown, seemed to float through the day, truly living her dream. Yet, amidst the glittering chandeliers and flowing champagne, I caught glimpses of a subtle shift in her. She was always Kiran, but there was a new edge, a subtle hardening, a reflection, perhaps, of the world she was now inhabiting. Life after the wedding became a series of snapshots, each revealing more of the new dynamic. Kiran and Vikram moved into a breathtaking penthouse in Zenith, a testament to his burgeoning success. Holidays, once simple gatherings at our Willow Creek home, transformed into elaborate events at exclusive resorts or private estates. Vikram was always generous, always grand, but his generosity often felt like a performance, a way to showcase his affluence rather than a genuine expression of love. Over time, I started noticing how Kiran, once so independent, began to revolve more and more around Vikram's orbit. Her once vibrant friendships seemed to fade, replaced by a curated circle of acquaintances linked to Vikram's business. Conversations with her became less about her own passions and more about Vikram's latest triumphs, his demanding schedule, or the exquisite gifts he bestowed upon her. There was an underlying tension I couldn't quite place, a subtle pressure that seemed to hum beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect life. I remember one afternoon, Kiran called, her voice tinged with a weariness that pierced my heart. "Mom, Vikram is insistent on this new investment. It's a huge sum, nearly all of our savings. He says it's a sure thing, but I have a bad feeling." My stomach clenched. "Kiran, trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel right, then maybe it isn't." "But he says I'm not supporting him, that I don't believe in his vision," she whispered, a familiar refrain. "He makes me feel so small when I question him." That conversation solidified my growing unease. Vikram wasn't just successful. He was controlling, subtly eroding Kiran's self-confidence under the guise of ambition and partnership. He would often dismiss her concerns with a dismissive wave or a patronizing smile, making her feel foolish for questioning his infallible judgment. The word gaslighting wasn't one I used often, but it began to echo in my mind. Kiran, my strong, opinionated Kiran, was slowly being diminished. Rohan, ever the observer, saw it too. "He's a man who needs to be the sun, Anya," he'd say, "and Kiran is becoming his satellite." Then came the news that Vikram was expanding his empire, taking on a massive loan, backed by a significant portion of their combined assets. Kiran tried to talk to him, to express her worries about the risk, but he brushed her aside, accusing her of lacking faith in him. He made her feel as though her concerns were an impediment to his inevitable success, a sign of her lack of understanding of the big picture. The loan, an astronomical sum, was secured through a relatively new financial institution, Global Trust, a venture Vikram had heavily invested in and was now promoting to his associates. The strain of Vikram's relentless drive and his dismissive attitude began to take a toll on Kiran's health. She started suffering from debilitating migraines, her usually bright eyes shadowed with exhaustion. She lost weight, and her once vibrant complexion grew pale. She attributed it to stress, to the demands of Vikram's world, but I saw something deeper, a quiet despair taking root. "Kiran, you need to slow down," I pleaded during one of our calls. "You're burning yourself out. Is this truly making you happy?" Her voice was tight. "Mom, you just don't understand the pressures. Vikram needs me to be strong, to be part of his vision." One crisp autumn morning, a call shattered the peace of Willow Creek. It was Kiran, her voice thin and ragged with panic. "Mom, it's the investment. It's gone. Everything. Vikram's company, that it's unraveling. He lost everything." My heart plummeted. "What happened, darling? What about the loan?" "It was a fraud, Mom," she choked out, tears finally breaking through. "Global Trust IT was a shell. Vikram was duped. We're ruined. He's blaming me, saying I didn't support him enough, that my doubts jinxed it." The anger that surged through me was cold and sharp. Not only had he lost everything, but he was blaming her. This was the ultimate betrayal of trust and responsibility. Kiran's desperation was palpable. She wasn't just distraught over the financial loss. She was crushed by Vikram's accusations, by his inability to take responsibility for his own decisions. She confessed that he had been increasingly erratic, prone to explosive outbursts, and had begun drinking heavily. His charm had curdled into bitterness, and she was bearing the brunt of it. In the aftermath of the financial collapse, Vikram became a ghost in their grand apartment, retreating into a fog of self-pity and resentment. Kiran, meanwhile, was left to pick up the pieces, facing creditors, legal threats, and the crushing weight of their financial ruin. She was struggling to keep their home, trying to salvage what little they had left. The stress was immense, physical and emotional. One evening, Kiran called, her voice barely a whisper. "Mom, I'm scared. I have this terrible pain in my side. It's getting worse." My blood ran cold. "Kiran, you need to go to the emergency room, right now. Don't wait." She hesitated. "Vikram, he's not in a good place. He says he needs me here." "Kiran, listen to me," I said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hands. "Your health comes first. Get to the hospital." She eventually agreed. Rohan and I immediately packed a bag and began the long drive to Zenith, our hearts pounding with a terrifying rhythm. The drive felt endless, each mile a silent prayer. When we arrived at the Zenith City Hospital, the air was thick with the sterile scent of disinfectant and the quiet hum of worried voices. A harried nurse led us to a small waiting room, her expression grave. "Mrs. Mehta has been admitted," she explained gently. "It appears to be a ruptured appendix. It's severe. She's being prepped for emergency surgery." My world tilted. A ruptured appendix. So sudden, so dangerous. The doctor, a kind-faced woman with tired eyes, came out shortly after, explaining the complexities. "Due to the delay, the infection has spread. It's a very delicate procedure. We're doing everything we can." As Kiran was wheeled away, her face pale and drawn, her eyes met mine, brimming with fear. "Mom," she whispered, "tell Vikram." "You focus on getting better, my love," I interrupted, squeezing her hand. "I'll handle everything else." Hours crawled by, each minute an eternity. Rohan sat beside me, his hand a comforting anchor. The sterile walls of the waiting room felt like a cage, amplifying every fear, every desperate hope. I tried to reach Vikram, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I left message after message, my pleas becoming increasingly desperate as the hours stretched on. I texted him, detailing Kiran's critical condition, the gravity of the surgery, the unknown outcome. No response. The surgeons worked for what felt like an eternity. Finally, the doctor emerged, her face weary but relieved. The surgery was successful. It was touch and go, but she's stable. She'll need extensive recovery time, and we're not out of the woods yet with the infection, but we're cautiously optimistic. A wave of profound relief washed over me, so potent it nearly buckled my knees. My daughter was alive. She was going to be okay. As the sun began to peek through the hospital windows, casting long, pale shadows across the waiting room, I finally managed to reach one of Vikram's business associates, a man named Dev. Dev, it's Anya Sharma, Kiran's mother. I need to speak to Vikram. It's urgent. Kiran just came out of life-saving surgery. There was a pause, a hesitant clearing of the throat. Mrs. Sharma, I don't think he can talk right now. Why not? I asked, a fresh wave of panic rising. Is he okay? Where is he? He's out of town, Dev stammered, his voice laced with discomfort. On a business trip. A yacht, actually. He's celebrating a new partnership. A major rebound. My mind reeled. Celebrating? On a yacht? While his wife lay critically ill in a hospital bed, having just undergone a life-threatening operation. The images flashed through my mind. Kiran's pale face, the doctor's grave warnings, and then Vikram, laughing on a sun-drenched deck, clinking glasses, oblivious, uncaring. A cold, hard clarity settled over me. This wasn't just negligence. It was a profound, unforgivable act of abandonment. It was the ultimate disrespect, not just to Kiran, but to the very concept of partnership, of family. The gentle, reflective person I was, the woman who always sought understanding and reconciliation, felt a seismic shift within her. A fierce, protective instinct, primal and unwavering, ignited. I looked at Rohan, his face etched with concern, still unaware of the full extent of Vikram's callousness. I knew what I had to do. This wasn't about revenge. It was about drawing a line in the sand, about protecting my daughter, and about reclaiming her dignity. It was about teaching a profound lesson about self-worth and boundaries, a lesson Kiran desperately needed to learn, and one Vikram had clearly never grasped. I instructed Rohan to stay with Kiran, promising to return soon. My mind was racing, formulating a plan. Vikram had shown his true colors, and it was time to respond in kind, not with anger, but with precision and unwavering resolve. I called Kiran's lawyer, a sharp, empathetic woman named Meera Kapoor, whom I'd met during the initial financial unraveling. I explained everything: the surgery, Vikram's celebratory yacht trip, the depths of his abandonment. Meera listened patiently, her voice hardening with each detail. Mrs. Sharma, she said, her tone resolute, this changes things. His abandonment during a life-threatening medical emergency, combined with the financial fraud and the ongoing marital distress. We have grounds for a very strong case. What kind of case? I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. A divorce, Mrs. Sharma. And not just any divorce. Given his actions, we can seek significant spousal support, a substantial portion of any remaining assets, and establish that the marital home belongs solely to Kiran. We can paint a very clear picture of his emotional and financial abuse, and his utter disregard for her well-being. I took a deep breath. This was it. This was the boundary. Meera, I said, I want you to proceed. With everything you have. The legal battle that ensued was arduous, emotionally draining, and at times, brutal. Vikram, once he realized the full extent of what was happening, was furious. He tried to discredit Kiran, to blame her for everything, to leverage his remaining influence. But Meera was formidable, relentless in her pursuit of justice for Kiran. We gathered every piece of evidence. Medical records detailing Kiran's critical condition, phone records showing my attempts to reach him, financial documents exposing the fraud, and testimonies from those who had witnessed his increasing erratic behavior and the impact it had on Kiran. The yacht trip, documented in a series of thoughtless social media posts from his associates, became a damning piece of evidence, showcasing his callous indifference. During Kiran's slow, painful recovery, I spent countless hours by her bedside. She was weak, her spirit fragile. I gently, carefully, started to tell her about Vikram's actions, about the yacht, about the legal proceedings. At first, she was in denial, then heartbroken, then, slowly, a flicker of something new began to ignite in her eyes. Anger. He did that? She whispered, tears streaming down her face. While I was fighting for my life. Yes, my love, I said, holding her hand. He did. And that is why we are doing this. Not for revenge, but for your self-respect, for your future, for the peace you deserve. It was a long road. Kieran had to confront the harsh reality of her marriage, the subtle manipulations, the gradual erosion of her self-worth. It was a painful process, peeling back the layers of denial and misplaced loyalty. But with each difficult conversation, each tear shed, she grew stronger. She started to see Vikram not as the dazzling, ambitious man she had fallen in love with, but as a deeply flawed individual who prioritized his ego and superficial success over genuine love and responsibility. The media, always hungry for a scandal, picked up on the story. Apex Innovations founder abandons critically ill wife for yacht party, screamed headlines. Vikram's carefully constructed image crumbled. His remaining business ventures stalled, his reputation in tatters. The divorce settlement was significant. Kieran not only retained their penthouse apartment, now free of the crushing debt Vikram had accumulated, but she also received substantial spousal support and a portion of his remaining assets. It wasn't about the money for me or for Kieran, but it was a tangible acknowledgement of the injustice, a reclamation of what was rightfully hers. It was a statement. You cannot treat people with such callous disregard and expect no consequences. After the legal battles concluded, Kieran decided to leave Zenith. The city, once the symbol of her dreams, now held too many painful memories. She returned to Willow Creek, to the quiet comfort of our family home. She was still healing, both physically and emotionally, but there was a newfound serenity about her. She spent her days walking through the familiar woods, rediscovering her love for painting, and slowly, gently, rebuilding her life. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the Willow Creek sky in hues of orange and purple, Kieran turned to me, her eyes clear and reflective. "Mom," she said, "thank you. For everything. For fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself. For showing me what true strength looks like." "My dearest Kieran," I replied, squeezing her hand, "you were always strong. Sometimes, we just need a reminder, a gentle hand to guide us back to ourselves." She smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile I hadn't seen in years. "I've learned so much, Mom. About what I deserve, about what real love means, about the importance of protecting my own peace." Kieran eventually opened a small art studio in Willow Creek, her paintings imbued with a newfound depth and vulnerability. She reconnected with old friends, forged new ones, and slowly, cautiously, began to date again. She was no longer seeking a dazzling life, but a life of substance, of genuine connection, of quiet joy. Vikram, I heard, eventually resurfaced in another city, attempting to rebuild his empire, but the whispers of his past followed him. His grand pronouncements and ostentatious displays never quite masked the emptiness that lay beneath. He never truly understood the cost of his choices, the irreparable damage he had inflicted, or the invaluable lessons he had failed to learn. As for me, the experience transformed me in subtle yet profound ways. It solidified my belief in the fierce, protective love of a mother and the importance of establishing healthy boundaries, even within the closest of relationships. It taught me that sometimes the kindest act is the firmest one, and that true strength lies not in avoiding conflict, but in facing it with integrity and unwavering conviction. Willow Creek continued to be my sanctuary, but now it held an even deeper meaning, a place of healing, of resilience, and of the enduring power of family, not just by blood, but by spirit. Kieran's journey was far from over, but she was on a path of genuine healing, embracing her true self, a woman refined by hardship, but not defined by it. And as I watched her paint, her brushstrokes confident and free, I knew that she had truly come home, not just to Willow Creek, but to herself.